Hi. Tonight, I'd like to read to you some of my favourite Christmas stories in the hope that it helps you fall asleep. I've chosen 4 of my favourites. The 12 Days of Christmas, which I know is technically a song, but I'm going to read it to you. The Night Before Christmas, which is a famous poem. A chapter from Michael Morpurgo's version of the Snowman. And my all-time Christmas favourite, A Christmas Carol. Literally the last page from this one, but I couldn't read my favourite stories without reading this one. So, here we go. Start with The 12 Days of Christmas. On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree. On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree. On the third day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 4th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 5th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 6th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 6 geese a-laying, 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 7th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 7 swans a-swimming, 6 geese a-laying, 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 8th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 8 maids a-milking, 7 swans a-swimming, 6 geese a-laying, 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 9th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a-milking, 7 swans a-swimming, 6 geese a-laying, 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 10th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 10 lords a-leaping, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a-milking, 7 swans a-swimming, 6 geese a-laying, 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 11th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 11 pipers piping, 10 lords a-leaping, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a-milking, 7 swans a-swimming, 6 geese a-laying, 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 12th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 12 drummers drumming, 11 pipers piping, 10 lords a leaping, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a milking, 7 swans a swimming, 6 geese a laying, 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. There they all are. The next one. The night before Christmas. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mamma in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new-fallen snow gave the lustre of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted, and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur, from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his sack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples how merry, his cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry, his droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and off they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." This one next is a retelling of the Snowman, which doesn't have words, but it does now thanks to Michael Morpurgo. Downstairs, the clock in the hallway was chiming out the hours, and James was still awake every hour it happened. He heard everyone coming upstairs to bed creakily, Mum and Dad together, then Grandma. And still the owl hooted, still the clock chimed out the hours. James wasn't thinking about Father Christmas coming. He could think only of his snowman, and he had the strangest feeling that his snowman was thinking of him. He got out of bed and went to his window. It was a bright night, a white night. Under the moon and the stars, he could just see the big tree in the oak tree field. He could hear the owl hooting, and he thought he could just make out his snowman with Dad's old hat on top. "Good night, Mr. Snowman," he whispered. "See you in the morning." Back in his bed, he snuggled down. He still couldn't stop thinking about his snowman. Outside, the owl hooted again. Downstairs, the clock chimed again. "Morning will come faster if I go to sleep," James thought. "Then it'll be Christmas Day, and I'll wake up, and Father Christmas will have filled my stocking and bought my bright green mountain bike with the big fat tyres. And, best of all, I'll be able to go out and be with my snowman again. Grandma was right. He is magnificent. He is wonderful." James closed his eyes and pretended to sleep. Pretended hard, so hard that very soon he drifted off and was lost in his dreams. It was still the middle of the night when he woke. He sat up and looked out of the window. There was the big oak tree out in the field, and there was his snowman. And James didn't believe it at first, and you're not going to believe it either. The snowman was waving to him. Yes, waving to him. James rubbed his eyes and looked again. It was true. The snowman was waving, beckoning to him. He wanted James to come down and see him. James got out of bed as quick as he could. Lickety-split, dressing gown on, slippers on. Soon he was tiptoeing past Grandma's room, down the creaky stairs and towards the front door. And, still tiptoeing so as not to wake Bertie, he was opening the door and running out across the snow in his slippers. He hadn't even stopped to put on his wellies. He ran through the gate into Oak Tree Field, and there was the big tree, every branch and twig still covered in snow. But where was his snowman? He was nowhere to be seen. He had gone. And then, from behind the tree, came a waving arm, then a kicking leg, then a head, his snowman's head, the face still smiling and still wearing Dad's old hat. Now the snowman was walking across the field towards him. Now he was shaking James by the hand. "All night I've been standing there and thinking," said the snowman, and his voice sounded so jolly and booming and deep. I was thinking what it might be like inside your house. I've never been in a house before. Well, why don't you come in then, Mr. Snowman? James said. I'll show you around, but I'm not sure you'll fit through the door. You're so big, and we mustn't make any noise, or else we'll wake everyone up, and Grandma hates being woken up at night. It makes her proper grumpy. The Snowman took his hand, and off they ran together over the frozen snow, across the garden, past the swing and the trampoline towards the house, the owl flying above them on silent wings. The Snowman had to breathe in very deep to get through the door, but he managed it just. James showed him into the sitting room first. Bertie was fast asleep on the sofa where he shouldn't have been. The last thing James wanted was for the dog to wake up. He put a finger to his lips, and the Snowman did the same. They understood one another perfectly. And how the Snowman loved the Christmas tree, all the glittering dingly-danglies, and especially the silver star on the top, and the little Father Christmas underneath the tree, the one Grandma loved so much because she said she had had the same Father Christmas under her Christmas tree every year when she was little. The Snowman was trying to sit down on a chair. He tried Grandma's chair. Too small. He tried Mum's chair. Too small. The only one big enough was the chair by the fire where Dad often sat when he took his socks off and wiggled his toes, which Grandma didn't like at all. The Snowman sat back in the chair just like Dad did, but he didn't take off his socks or wiggle his toes because he didn't have any socks to take off or any toes to wiggle. But suddenly the Snowman was not looking happy at all. He jumped up and backed away from the fire. James saw at once what was upsetting him. It was the heat of the fire. It was too much for the Snowman. It was warming him up, and he didn't like it one bit. He liked being cold. He had to be cold. So James took him into the kitchen and opened up the lid of the freezer. It was just about long enough for his Snowman. Lie down in that for a bit, Mr. Snowman, he said. You'll feel a lot cooler, a lot better. So the Snowman lay back and snuggled down happily on his frozen bed, made of bags of frozen peas and frozen broad beans and frozen apples and frozen black currants and frozen gooseberries, everything Mum had gathered in from the garden during the summer. And finally, my favourite, but just the last page. I love this version of the book. It has such beautiful pictures. We're right at the end of the story. Do you know Christmas Carol? Scrooge has decided to mend his ways and has had a very enjoyable Christmas dinner with his nephew and sent an enormous Christmas turkey to Bob Cratchit. And we pick up the following day. But he was early at the office next morning. Oh, he was early there. If he could only be the first and catch Bob Cratchit coming late. That was the thing he had set his heart upon. And he did it. Yes, he did. The clock struck 9. No Bob. 1:15. No Bob. He was a full 18 minutes and a half behind his time. Scrooge sat with his door wide open that he might see him come into the tank. His hat was off before he opened the door, his comforter too. He was on his stool in a jiffy, driving away with his pen, as if he were trying to overtake 9 o'clock. "Hello," growled Scrooge in his accustomed voice, as near as he could feign it. "What do you mean by coming here at this time of day?" "I am very sorry, sir," said Bob. "I am behind my time." "You are?" repeated Scrooge. "Yes, I think you are. Step this way, sir, if you please." "It's only once a year, sir," pleaded Bob, appearing from the tank. "It shall not be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir." "Now I'll tell you what, my friend," said Scrooge. "I am not going to stand for this sort of thing any longer. And therefore," he continued, leaping from his stool and giving Bob such a dig in the waistcoat before he staggered back into the tank again, "and therefore I am about to raise your salary." Bob trembled and got a little nearer to the ruler. He had a momentary idea of knocking Scrooge down with it, holding him and calling to the people in the court for help with a strait waistcoat. "A Merry Christmas, Bob," said Scrooge with an earnestness that could not be mistaken, as he clapped him on the back. "A merrier Christmas, Bob, my good fellow, than I have given you for many a year. I'll raise your salary and endeavour to assist your struggling family, and we will discuss your affairs this very afternoon over a Christmas bowl of smoking bishop, Bob. Make up the fires and buy another coal scuttle before you dot another I, Bob Cratchit." Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew, or any other good old city, town, or borough in the good old world. Some people laughed to see the alteration in him, but he let them laugh, and little heeded them, for he was wise enough to know that nothing ever happened on this globe for good at which some people did not have their fill of laughter at the outset. And knowing that such as these would be blind anyway, he thought it quite as well that they should wrinkle up their eyes in grins as have the malady in less attractive forms. His own heart laughed, and that was quite enough for him. He had no further intercourse with spirits, but lived upon the total abstinence principle ever afterwards. And it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well, if any man alive possessed the knowledge. May that be truly said of us, and all of us. And so was Tiny Tim observed. God bless us, every one.